Hey, what's up everybody? How you doing? It's Colin here with Big Shot Supplies. Today I'm going to show you a quick video that explains a little bit about downstream injection and injection bypassing. So using an injector bypass with your pressure washer, which is one of the easiest ways to get a good mixture of basically whatever you're trying to throw down on the surface extremely quick while utilizing your pressure washer. It's something that you already have in your arsenal. So you can just grab an injector, pop it into a bucket of water, and then easily and quickly apply that chemical onto the surface. When you're using downstream injection, you're gonna have a bucket of something, whether that's an acid, a degreaser, sodium hypochlorite, and you're gonna have some surfactant in there. So if you're doing like a vertical surface, we always recommend throwing a surfactant into the bucket, and it's gonna help that whatever you're spraying, it's gonna help it stick longer onto the surface or dwell longer. Just a little bit of soap goes a long way. If you're doing a flat surface like on the ground, you don't necessarily need to add a surfactant, but if it's already in the mixture and you have it, it doesn't hurt. You can put it down. But rule of thumb is you put a surfactant in whenever it's a vertical surface, so it's going to run down the side of a building or something. You just want it to dwell longer. So yeah, you got your bucket, you got a little bit of soap in there. Obviously you have your mix inside the bucket, whatever you want, and it's going to dilute that at about a 10-to-1 ratio, your downstream injector. So as soon as you pop it in there and then squeeze the trigger on the gun, as long as you have the proper tips on the end of the gun, which is going to be your bigger nozzles, that's going to allow the injection to happen, and it's going to inject the soap after the pump. That's why it's called a downstream injector, because everything's happening after the pump. You don't want chemicals going through your pump with that type of injection. So it's going to inject it into the line all the way down to the gun, and it's going to spray out on the surface. So if you're using 12.5% bleach, which is the most common type of bleach that we have, that people use, it's going to naturally dilute it to around a 1.2, 1.5, sometimes a 2% mix, which is a really good mix for cleaning vinyl siding, vinyl decks and railings, painted wood siding, hardy board, just a huge list of things that get cleaned very, very good at that 1.5 to 2% mix. And then if you need a stronger mix, you can always move up to like an X-Jet, which in my opinion is a little more difficult to work with, but you can achieve a stronger mix like very easily. And then if you need like a stronger mix from there, or a more accurate mix, or you want to be able to change your mix on the fly without having a batch mix, that's when you would get something like a 12-volt pump or a gas-powered pump, and you put like a blend manifold in there, and then you'd be able to grab whatever kind of mix that you want and just use a couple valves to change the percentage on the fly. So that's really easy. But the reason downstream injection is so popular is because it's a very entry-level method to get into it. It's a cheaper method. You just have to buy a few things and then you're off to the races. But it's also one of the core things that you're gonna do. So even if you have a fancy soft wash skid or whatever you have, it's still a really good idea to be fully trained and know how to use the downstream injector. Sometimes you have one crew working with the fancy equipment and you have maybe a couple people that just have a pressure washer. Well, if you know how to use a downstream injector, then they can be doing something off to the side with the downstream injector, getting that 1.5 to 2% mix of that chlorine onto the surface. And so it's just a really good, cheap, easy way to do things. So I'm going to show you a little bit more in detail, just kind of how it works, and hopefully you can figure it out. If you have any questions about this, feel free to leave me a comment on this YouTube video. And also, I'd just love to hear if this is something that you typically do or that you like it. I'd also like to hear if you like X-jetting more or downstreaming or a bit of both, or you don't like either of them at all. Just leave me a comment, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this video. Right here, what we have is a downstream injector right in the middle of this bypass. And then this loop looking thing here with a valve. Lots of you might know this, but if you don't, this is how this works. Is the fluid, the water comes out of your your pressure washer outlet, and then it is forced through this injector where a ball in here will shift, and then that's how we suck up whatever this is hooked up to. So in this case, it's hooked up to this, and whatever valves are open, it's going to suck the fluid up through here and then follow it to your injector, and it's going to inject it right here, and it's going to go down the line. So you're going to have your garden or your pressure hose hooked up here, and it's going to inject the chemical in and push it down. Now, if you want to stop injecting, you don't need to turn everything off. You just need to open this valve here. So once you open this valve, what happens is the water comes out the outlet, and it tries to go through here, but inside of here is a very small pinhole that's not super convenient for the water to go through. So what it does is it just goes around and bypasses this injector. So that's how that works. So you open this up, it's going to bypass it and then go down the line, which is going to keep your flow rate good. So you're not going to lose flow rate, because when it's going through here, it's such a small hole that you end up losing a little bit of flow rate. But it's okay because you're injecting some soap into there. So now if you want to start injecting again, you just close this, and now it's forced to go through here because it tries to go around, but it can't, it's blocked. So then it pushes and forces it through here. So that's kind of how the downstream injector and the injector work. And the reason it works is because when the water gets pushed through the pump and it comes here and it gets forced through this little hole, what happens is it builds up a bunch of pressure in here. So it's higher pressure. And then when it gets through here, because it matters what tip you use on the end of the gun. So if you use a soap nozzle, which is a bigger nozzle, it's going to be lower pressure on this side. Everything on this side will be a higher pressure, and this side will be a lower pressure. And because of that pressure differential, what happens is it causes a ball in here to shift and allows the soap to go inside here and then make its way down the line. Now, I believe I have a nozzle to show you, and here it is right here. So these nozzles on the left are bigger nozzles. You got a 2540, and this one here is an 0040, and then these ones are smaller on the right, and they won't allow that pressure differential to happen, because when you have this on the end of the gun, the pressure on this side is the same or similar to on this side of the injector. So the pressure here and the pressure here all the way down the line to the gun is similar when you're using these nozzles. But if you go with these bigger nozzles on the left, the pressure on this side is greater than this side, because the bigger the hole on the end of the line, the lower the pressure will be. So that's all you need to do. If you want to go ahead and keep rinsing with these bigger nozzles, you can do that. You just need to come over here and open this, and now it doesn't matter because it won't go through here, it'll go around, so it won't suck up any soap, and then you're able to actually, you're able to actually rinse with these bigger nozzles that are much more desirable because a lot of water comes out, it's low pressure. You can shoot the water quite high to rinse all the chemicals that you have put onto the surface.